Namaste, hello and welcome to NCERT's live phone-in program. You're watching us on PM's eVidya channel number 8. For all the class 8 students, this is an English session where we are going to discuss a story by Satyajit Ray called Bepin Chaudhary's Lapse of Memory. So what is this story all about, and who are the main characters? There's a lot of questions attached to the story. What's the importance of this story? So if you have any such questions, then please send it to us on our email ID, which is ciet.kishoremanch@gmail.com, and you're watching us live on our YouTube channel, which is NCERT Official. In the live chat box also you can write your questions and we will be getting those questions till 3:30. Our expert will be with us and he'll be more than happy to answer all those questions, all those doubts. Let's meet our expert. We have with us Dr. Subodh Kumar Jha. Welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir is an associate professor and head of the Department of English, S.N. Sinha College, Jehanabad, Magadh University, Bodh Gaya, Bihar. Let's begin this discussion, sir. What is the importance of this story? Why do the class 8 students, they need to read this story?
Yeah, very good question, Tanvi. See, this is basically a language class, and we have to deal with different skills, reading, writing, and the basic skills, listening and speaking.
Right.
And implicit are their grammar, vocabulary, and all these items. But language cannot be taught in vacuum. We need content.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one content. This is one. Then NCERT 2005 talks about a cross curriculum. See, the very topic, it is about lapse of memory, and it is related to psychology, related to the workings of the mind. So this will help students understand how our mind works and how a thing affects us. If something is told repeatedly, how it affects us and how our behavior changes. So both for the content and also for the language, we need a story, and here is a very interesting story.
Okay. Sir, can you talk about the main character here, Bepin Chaudhary? What is he like?
Bepin Chaudhary is a very disciplined person.
Okay.
He wakes up at a fixed time, does everything according to his routine, and he has a very good memory. You can say that in a way he has become a machine. Okay. Now, when the story begins, he is very fond of reading.
Okay.
Different types of stories, different types of novels, basically fiction, crime stories, ghost stories, okay, suspense stories. These are the stories that he likes. His quota is 5 books minimum in a week. So he usually goes to a shop, bookshop, and buys books. One day, when he is looking for books, a person watches him. So Bepin Chaudhary is that, and there we come across another person, that is Pari Ghosh.
Okay.
Ghosh tries to say, well, I know you. Bepin Chaudhary does not recognize him. Then he says, well, you have forgotten me. Only 6 years ago, you were in Ranchi and I helped you. You met with an accident, I helped you and everything. So 2 characters. Then there is the entry of the 3rd character. Actually, we don't see that character. Only difference is there. That is Dinesh Mukherjee. Because Parimal Ghosh talks about Dinesh Mukherjee, that, well, he was with you, you stayed with him. And this man gets connected with Dinesh Mukherjee only to get confirmation whether he was in Ranchi or not. Because as far as his memory serves him, well, he has never been to Ranchi. Okay. Then we have another character, and very important character, that is Chunnu Babu. He is also Bepin Chaudhary's friend. Then we have a doctor. So these are the 5 important characters in the story, not many characters, and the story is built up around it. And it's by a very famous film director, Satyajit Ray. It's remarkable, very good suspense story. So before we deal with it, we have to understand what is a suspense story. Suspense story where you have to, the incidents are arranged in such a way that you always are curious. What will happen hereafter? What will happen? And whatever you predict, it is not according to your prediction, and that's why it is suspense story. And the suspense builds up. It is only towards the end, when the climax comes, well, when the suspense is resolved. Any more questions before I begin, Tanvi?
Please begin, sir.
Okay. So as I told you, suspense story.
Yeah.
The most important element is element of surprise. Now, for the teachers and for the students, both, it is very important to keep this element of surprise very alive. If we are reading the story as a reader, we have to pause at certain phases, important junctures, and ask ourselves certain questions. And if we are taking up as a teacher, again, we have to use such questions. And such questions we call technically suspense hooks. What will happen? And this is nothing. I think when we were children, we used to listen to the stories by grandma. And the story usually, well, what will happen hereafter? So that suspense is very important. We can also talk about different types of stories, because the reference is there in the very first sentence: thriller, ghost story, romance, suspense story. And that is while talking about Bepin Chaudhary, in the very opening sentence, we have this reference. Again, we have first, whatever the topic, whatever the lesson, whether it is a prose or poetry, we have to pay attention to the title, because usually it holds the key to the lesson. The key word definitely is lapse of memory. So what is this lapse of memory? We can ask ourselves when we are reading alone. If I am reading it, I will ask myself, what is the lapse of memory? What is my understanding of the phrase? And if we are dealing it in the classroom, as we are doing now, we can have a discussion. What is lapse of memory? Of course, if we consult dictionary, we can find the meaning: forgetting something completely for a temporary period. That is the lapse. There are so many movies on this theme, lapse of memory. Sometimes it is temporary, sometimes it is permanent. Then we can have, that will be a very good warm-up exercise as well, how it happens. We can ask our learners, we can ask our friends, if we are in the same age group, when does this lapse of memory really take place? Then we can talk about, we can narrate a few incidents. Any of us can narrate an incident where a person, well, he or she has had lapse of memory. As I told earlier, suspense hooks are very important. I have enlisted certain suspense hooks. It's not that all these questions have been used, but whichever you think appropriate, you can use these questions at different juncture. For example, see, when we are talking about the meeting of Bepin Chaudhary and this stranger, Parimal Ghosh. When this man is staring at Bepin Chaudhary has to ask, why? Do you know me? Then he tells, yes, I know you. Who doesn't know you? You are the famous Bepin Chaudhary. And then he tells him about his Ranchi trip. But Bepin Chaudhary does not remember anything. In fact, he is very, very confident that he has never been to Ranchi. And this man is talking about Ranchi and giving minute details of his Ranchi trip. Where did he stay? Where did he meet with an accident? And all these things. So we can ask, well, is there something wrong with Bepin Babu's memory? Okay. Can so precise details, minute details, be wrong? So is the stranger right? Is the stranger playing any trick? We can talk about. Now, what will Bepin Babu do? Usually, when someone tells us like this, we have different ways of responding. But the most obvious are the two responses. Either we ignore it or we think over it. So what will this person, this Bepin Chaudhary will do? Think over it? Or will he call his friend Dinesh Mukherjee? Because Parimal Ghosh, that a stranger, for confirmation he told, yes, you stayed with your friend Dinesh Mukherjee. So obviously, this is the clue. He can confirm with Dinesh Mukherjee whether he had ever been to Ranchi or not. And when he confirms, Dinesh Mukherjee tells him, yes, we had been to Ranchi 6 years ago. Now, how will this revelation affect Bepin Babu? Will he doubt his memory? So, the question will be, does he really have a memory lapse? Chuni Babu, another friend. This man comes to visit him, and Bepin Babu does not like him because he has been pestering him for job. So first of all, he asks his servant, well, tell him I won't meet him, and maybe for the next few months I won't be available for him. But then suddenly he comes down, meets him, and then he asks straight away, Chuni, here was given. And he also confirms, yes, 6 years ago you had a memory, you had been to Ranchi, and also tells that I arranged your trip. Okay. So now what will Bepin Babu do? We can give certain suspense hooks. Will he let it go or consult a doctor?
Okay. What
would the doctor do? Will Bepin Babu go to Ranchi as suggested? Because when he consults the doctor, well, this is rare case. So only thing that I can suggest is go to Ranchi and maybe your memory will restore back. So now, will it help him? Will his memory be brought back? How will it affect him? Is Bepin Babu really having lapse of memory? Are his apprehensions justified? What will he do now? What's there in the... So, when he goes to Ranchi, he again meets with an accident. He is hospitalized. Okay? And there he receives a letter. And on the envelope it is written, confidential, urgent and confidential. When he reads the story, so there is a chance change in his behavior. We may ask when he gets the letter, what's there in the letter? How does it affect Bipin Babu? Because in the letter, it is clearly written that you don't have any emotions left with you. I have been requested you for job, but you did not entertain me. So this was my revenge. So it was a trick. So it is only towards the end of the story that the suspense is resolved that yes, Bipin Babu actually did not have any lapse of memory. It was just a trick. And all these were a party. Chunni Babu, Dinesh Mukherjee, Parimal Ghosh, well, all they were party. And Chunni Babu was the mastermind. Now, this story is very important, especially in today's context. So many cases of depression is there.
Okay.
We have the recent incident of Sushant Singh Rajput and all these things. Several people commit suicide.
Yeah.
Now, this is the psychological aspect. Whenever people start saying something to us, maybe in the beginning, we are not least bothered. We are not bothered or least bothered. But when the same thing is told repeatedly, not only by the same person, but by different people, then it starts affecting us.
Okay.
And our behavior changes. And this may lead to depression. Because we see in the story that Bipin Babu, towards the end of the story, he is on the verge of falling victim to a very serious case of depression. So it may lead to depression. So we have to understand mind's working, how our mind gets affected. What are the psychological impact of what we see or listen to repeatedly?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
is there, yeah. Do you want to ask any question?
yes, sir. So here, now that we know that the story has a message involved in it, while you being a teacher or any teacher who is watching this session, do they need to highlight any major points while describing, while teaching the story to the students?
Definitely. See, as I told you in the beginning, in response to your first question, as the teacher of language, we have twofold task. Number one, highlighting the content. What is the gist? The gist is, and the message, that is the psychological one, the mind's working that we have dealt with. Then the most important aspect is the language, because content is not our prime concern.
Yeah.
It is there only because language teaching can't take place without any content. Okay, so content is important. Now we have to come to different language items. In the textbook itself, different sections have been given. Working with the text, working with language, and working with language is very important. And then listening and speaking is also there.
Right.
Now, working with language, we see there are three important language items which we have to pay attention to. One is the use of have to or had to. Okay? Then we have the use of idioms. When do we use idioms? Why do we use idioms? How is an idiom different from the normal use of words? Okay? Then the third will be the tense aspect, differentiating between present perfect and simple past. So these three language items are very important. Then see, according to NCERT 2005, it's not that we have to deal with the lesson only. We have to lead our learners. I mean, this is just the launching platform. From this lesson, we have to take them beyond and link them with life. If you have, I have given here, see, speaking and writing, how this has been done. What do you think happened after Bepin Babu came to know the truth? Was he angry with his friend for playing such a trick on him? Or do you think he decided to help a friend in need? So that will be for imaginative thinking, free expression. And this is our real objective in language class. Help the students think imaginatively, creatively, and then express, because expression is what matters. And that's why language class has to be there. And since it is English, so yes, English class is there. Yeah. Any question do you have, Tanvi?
Yes, sir. So if we talk about the language, which language items are of a special interest in this particular story?
Yeah. As I told you, 3 items are there.
Yeah.
Most important, I think, is idioms. Okay? So see, in conversation, whether it is Hindi, English, or any language, we do use idioms.
Okay.
And this, well, they have a special flavor. Okay? See, from the very textbook, you can find, see, when Chuni Babu comes to meet this Bepin Babu, he has complete distaste for this person. And the idiom that he uses is, but Chuni kept, see, is number 66. But Chuni kept turning up like a bad penny. But Bepin Babu did not beat about the bush. And on the same page, page 66. Now, if we know the meaning of each word, even then, we won't be able to understand the exact meaning. Because idiom is a special usage of the words or language where our feelings, our emotions, everything gets expressed. Now, penny, that is square. Bad, what you call in Hindi, khota sikka. So this man, complete distaste of Bepin Babu for Chuni Babu. He doesn't like this man. And for him, Chuni Babu is nothing more than a bad penny. So then, did not beat about the bush. Again, this is idiomatic. That means coming straight forward to the questions. So if we draw the attention of the learners to idioms, and then we can give exercise, so that will be a very good practice in idiom. See, again, it's from the textbook only. And from here, we can have another set of idioms, our own, if time permits. In 17, see, from close quarters, break into a smile, all these idioms are there. So idioms, very important from my point of view. Of course, all 3 items are very important.
Okay. So we have got 1 last minute left. So would you wrap this session in a few words?
Yeah. This story has a very good message for all of us. That is, we should have self-belief. We should not allow, we must not allow anyone to shatter our confidence, because it is our confidence that matters. And if our confidence is shattered, then we may fall victim to several psychiatric issues. That is from the content point of view, and then we have to pay attention to minute details of language to understand different nuances of distress.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. We've got a lot of questions, not questions, actually comments that students who are watching this session, they have read this story and they're saying that you are explaining it wonderfully, and yes, it's a wonderful suspense, and the writer has done a great job while describing the whole story. So thank you for putting all those language inputs and explaining it wonderfully to our viewers and students.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the students as well. We did read your comments, and thank you for participating. Keep on watching these sessions. They are really, really helpful for your education. And next class, we are coming back with a social science class, which is called, the topic is 1857, the causes, nature and consequences. This is what we are going to talk about. For all the class 8 students, please be with us and enjoy these sessions, and download our app Kishore Manch for all the sessions you have missed previously. Thank you once again. Namaste.